Good afternoon. Today is November 19th. It is the curriculum committee meeting. All members of the committee are here. We have Karen Conroy is here, and then Frank McCree, Barbara Owens, Matt Bergeron, Callie Landrum, and myself, Robin Wilkie.
All right. So I'm trying something a little different because Karen did an amazing job putting the slideshow together with links.
Okay.
So now that we can see what's going on, I'm actually trying to present the slideshow on the recording so people can see it, because sometimes it's not. Usually it's just a recording of us talking.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm trying something different today. We'll see if it works. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
A lot of technology.
Okay. And I'm not going. There we go. All right, so there's the agenda, and let's move on with. So the New York State Education Department data site, as you know, school report cards that come out every year, different levels, and we all get reported on on those items. And accountability is back up and running for New York State, as you all are aware. The embargoed data that was out there and that was all the assessment data, just got released last week and went public. So we now can go over it with the board and kind of go over it all together. So Karen wants to just a brief overview. Yeah. This is all things that can go over, and if there are specific things that we need to talk about, we look at, as we always say, we look at multiple data points in the district. This is one data point that's looked at. So this is here and it's on the data site. So I'm just going to link to it.
So that you said.
Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. There we go.
They've adjusted 22, 23?
23, 24.
School, oh, right,
Yeah.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah. So, all right.
So you may have to click on share this tab instead if you wanted to. It's up to you, Frank. If you wanted to show that to other people.
There we go.
So I just want to look at this very first bit here, right there. Perfect. Overall, we continue to consistently outperform New York State's average proficiency, which is great. You can see the element, this is the ELA 3 through 8. ELA, we're about 20 points higher than the state performance results for proficiency, which is exciting. In the middle school, it's, 10 to 15 points. So that looks very good. You can go down to and if people want to spend more time, they can always go on the site themselves and just, Google that New York State data site. And if you go down to math.
Well, just real quick, just to show you, it breaks
level.
it down if you haven't looked. Has everyone looked at this before or has an understanding of it? The levels 1, 2, 3s, and 4s. So it goes through.
Proficient, 4s are more like mastery.
And it gives us a not tested component as well. So you can see how many kids are not tested.
I wish they didn't do it with blue with black letters. It's almost like impossible to read.
If you're looking at it in here, it's better.
There,
I think the TV is different. Yes. And it breaks it down by cohort. So like one of the things that you'll see here, because some of our cohorts for accountability purposes is what they utilize. So are all students female, male, general education, students with disabilities, Asian or Native Hawaiian, Hispanic or Latino, white, multiracial, small group, total race and ethnicity. Then it goes economically disadvantaged, not economically disadvantaged, ELL, non-English language learner, not in foster care, not homeless, not migrant, and parent not in armed forces. So they break it down by a multitude of different
Many of
cohorts.
which are accountability cohorts.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
But just in case you've never seen that before, kind of quickly go over it. And as Karen said, our numbers are always pretty strong.
When you say accountability cohorts, that's for purposes of state data tracking. Is that an ESSA?
It is.
One of the other components that we utilize, and it's not as much with the state, but we also want to make sure that we're equitably meeting all of our needs. So like our special education students, how are their grades in comparison to our economically disadvantaged students, right? If all of our non-economically disadvantaged are getting 3s and 4s, and all of our economically disadvantaged students are getting 1s and 2s, which they're not, that would show that there's definitely
there's a gap
there that we need to look at.
The all students in that one population, then it's something to notice, of course. And the state wants you to notice it. That's why it's part of that accountability. Okay, math. Again, you can see on here we have about 10 to 15% higher, I think, on all those as well. You'll see something called Combined 7, Combined 8, because they also include when a district uses the regents as part of that accountability piece. You just,
and then it breaks it down.
again, same thing. Each grade level will break it down for as well. And then we have our new science assessment. People remember that from last year. There's a lot of discussion on that. That's seventh grade math.
Oh, my bad.
Yep.
Sorry.
And it was in fifth grade and eighth grade. And it was very
Here it
long,
is.
very hard. Thank you. Grade 5, you could see we really killed it. This is the first year, didn't know what to expect, new standards, new application of those standards, I should say. We're 30 points higher than the state there in elementary.
That hats off
Then
to all the
now
work
too.
done for that.
And it was,
Then I have a question. Do you know if, because that test kids spent almost the
long
entire
time.
day
You're
on
saying
it,
how long it
Yeah.
it was. And I'm glad
Well-
that we performed as well as we did. I know everyone worked very hard, but do you know if the state is addressing the appropriateness issue
I have
of the
heard.
test?
So
I've
I've heard
nothing.
I've heard that this has been a concern, and then that was at a state conference where they did bring it up, and they were taking into account of everything that was done, and they were reviewing their processes. for
Because
next
a lot
year.
of people did the
Yeah,
online.
that is what I heard, was they're
Feedback.
reviewing processes and taking all feedback into account to be able to look at what they can do for next year. What that means, I haven't heard
Because
specifically,
I
but they did
understand
talk
that
about
they
that.
will, I'm gonna say curve the scores to get like what's, like, we
Yeah.
put the test out there, but then what we throw out,
Yeah.
what we.
what we
I didn't
see.
hear anything
Right.
about curves or anything like that.
None.
Nope. No, they didn't talk about how they did this, how they scored. They just know that they did have concerns and complaints regarding the testing and CBT and how that went, and some of the errors that
The
occurred
length
with
of
it. Yeah,
time,
the
I
length of
think, was a
time with
big
it, yep.
piece
But
of that.
the way that they scored it and their ratios of conversion, I haven't seen anything on that.
How long was it intended to take the students? Is there any?
Oh, I'm trying to remember what they said for that. I honestly don't, but I mean,
Okay.
by and large, they're usually, they'll say for the ELA, 60 to 80 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
But, with the directions read and all
Yeah,
that,
yep.
I don't honestly remember that. I could check
Okay,
for you.
Just curious.
But I still think the important thing wasn't the length. I think the important thing is you had a new test. Sometimes you see a dip when you see new tests come out and new curriculum and new standards.
Yeah.
And our staff did a lot of pre-work
We
and
did,
a lot of work
and we brought in
in
Lisa
curriculum and doing through it.
from.
And it
Bozeman.
shows because we are almost 30% higher than the state
Yeah.
in comparison to that.
And I will say
And our
that
math in ELA is 20% higher. So
10 to,
Yeah.
yeah, right, 10 to 20% higher. But the middle school, it did feel more challenging. We're only about 8 points higher there. So we'll continue, and we brought in, we have actually a new department leader who's doing a lot of work with her team in the middle school. And we've, just on November 1st, our PD day had, I think, some more work there and some more at the elementary as well to dig into those questions, with Lisa Cochi, our BOCES.
And do our eighth graders that take earth science?
Do not take it, correct.
So that also impacts.
So you have a big group who,
Because some places they have them take it.
Yeah, I know. That, grade 8, right? That's the current ninth graders.
correct, that is correct. And then, just to reiterate that we have fun safe, we can go down, you could take a peek at the regions as well. We're usually about 10 points higher, on those results as well.
24 students took the regents out of that grade 8.
I think there are only like 35 or 38 who took the science.
Yeah.
And how
And,
large is that class?
I
Mm,
believe that's
Is this
grade
some-
the
I was
grade
gonna
9
say-
kids.
yeah, is that like 9?
Yeah, it's like up in the, like right around 100.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
And, okay, so there
Yeah,
you go.
and these are
It's on the
regions,
far right, you can see the proficient. I think, and you can just kind of scroll down, take a peek. It starts with ELA, probably goes into algebra next, I'm not sure. You'll see January regions results, August regions results. They're very small for our district, 1 or none or 3, or, students who might want to improve a score. And, so on the far right, you'll see the proficient. So that would be levels 3, 4, and 5, if it's a 5-level test, or 3 and 4 for the science, which are still 4-level. And really, next steps are continuing to grow that proficiency 3 through 8 with our math and our ELA. Trying to bring it back to pre-Common Core, really, just to keep growing those numbers. And I think we're doing that with a lot of data work and intervention work that we've been doing Cal, would you agree with that? It's been really putting a lot of time into that, and probably pushing on the mastery piece at the high school level. That'll be our. Look at that. Look at the proficiency. Pause there, art physics.
You know, I was just looking at it too.
Right there.
That's amazing.
100% proficiency. That's right.
Well, 94, 95%.
25.
It's pretty high up.
95.
That's
Sorry.
That's actually really, really well.
Yeah.
So,
That's great. And so anybody can visit that site. If you have any questions, you can just let me know. That's everything really for the,
Is there a feature through, I forget, is there a feature through this where you can filter and compare districts?
not through that site, I don't think.
We Tableau allows.
But
us
we
to do
have
that.
a public site. There is a site that can do that. In fact, I just kind of pulled that up for our most recent stuff to look at the low needs districts, for the 3 through 8.
And that's Tableau, correct?
And on Tableau,
Yeah.
we have the link to the site, but I think it's a public site that I can share out. If I can get that. So
Oh, is that public?
I think so.
Any other questions on that?
Did you put back onto
Oh, I know
the
they watch.
PowerPoint?
See? Okay.
Okay, we're sharing this out. All right.
Yeah, this is the
There
PowerPoint.
we go. Perfect. I know, but weren't we sharing out the link at that last point? I just want to be sure we're back onto this.
Oh, I have
So-
no idea. I don't know, like, again, I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I stopped sharing altogether, didn't I?
Maybe. I don't.
Yep, I stopped sharing. Thanks, Karen.
Great.
So every time I go to a link, it's gonna stop. me from
Only
sharing?
if you decide to share it, we had you click that, so we don't have to do that again, for instance.
Okay.
So you can go to the next slide. That's just what we wanted.
All right.
Wonders. So Wonders, as you may recall, is our new reading program in the elementary school for our kindergarten through 5th grade. And we are in year 2. And I just kind of wanted to give an update to this committee. So at the end of last year, our teachers were interested in moving into the supplemental writing pieces of Wonders. And we had a few grade levels, K, 1 and 2, that all started doing some of that planning and work with, and did summer curriculum work and preparing for that. Because Sue, our coach, at the end of the year, kind of set us up for that, talked about that. I think they coordinated where they're going to go with their writing, but also there's a lot of informational text, science related in Wonders. So some grade levels were actually coordinating the science topics to what they would be teaching. So they kind of move things around to make sure it was following Wonders instead of at 2 different times a year. So that was another piece of that. We contracted with our coach who we had last year for a 2nd year, and she is here for 7. We have 7 days with her. We just had 2 in October. We'll have 2 in February, 2 in March, and we have 1 that's a virtual that she can be used as we need her. For example, a new teacher who was returning, who needed a little bit of training, she was able to work with. Okay, cool. We got great feedback from teachers and from Sue after when she came in October. So I just kind of want to share a little bit of that with you. 90% of the teachers who responded to this question, what's your comfort or satisfaction level from the start of the year to now, till November, through November? 90% gave it a 4 or a 5 with satisfaction and comfort level. And with 5 being the highest. So I thought that was really pretty good. And I also asked again about the writing. Writing was the focus that we had before, that we talked about at the end of the year. Is that still what you'd like us to focus on this year as we move forward? And a lot of them, as you know, as I mentioned, have started that writing piece. So some of them are still interested in that, but it was interesting that 100% of the teachers who responded were interested in the whole extra assessments, the supplementary assessments we aren't using, and making sense of that data, which I thought was very interesting. And it's exciting because a couple of the teachers have already started using the diagnostic and placement assessments and trying to get the feel for that. So that will help guide what we're going to do with Sue when she comes back. And Sue was astounded at how well our teachers were doing and excited about the responses that she saw from our students. She was very impressed with them. In
Okay,
fact,
digging into those
Yeah.
components means that they show an understanding of the curriculum,
comfort and
right?
understanding.
So they're
yeah,
moving into the complexity of the program now. That's nice.
That's very nice.
Are we getting a strong response to the surveys? Are we getting enough people to respond?
We had every grade level.
So people are responding. I know
Um,
sometimes maybe we need to encourage, and that's,
Yes, I
and
sent
I'm
it out
happy
twice.
to work with that too. But so I'm wondering, 100%, 90%, but of how many?
Yeah, I would have to go back and check, but I do know that we have every grade level.
Okay.
So, in fact, your old team, I think everybody responded.
I was, my feelings on that too.
Sorry.
That's a good question though. So now I'm trying to remember what I wanted to say. Oh, so one thing that Sue had asked for, I mean, as I said, she's very impressed with what we're doing. She was working with another district and said, can you give me a couple anonymous writing pieces so that I can show them the kind of work that your students are doing at all levels? All levels meaning, not just pulling the top response, but how kids are doing. She's asked for us to share, and I've asked teachers if they would, and they have, share like their anchor charts. So she's very excited about what our teachers are doing. I really see it as a feather in our cap. I'm really proud of this. And even the possibility of working with a teacher too. I know this is not an easy thing because you need permissions, but with maybe you recording a lesson for Wonders, because she's been so impressed with coming in. How she pushes into the classrooms when has been doing her coaching, to demonstrate. So I thought that was really exciting. Also wanted to talk about the implementation dip that sometimes we see when we start a new program. So we were certainly trying to prepare people and expecting to see that we may have a dip with our English language arts results. And I do have a slide for the past 3 years for 3, 4, and 5. And I'm actually really happy to say that, when you look across horizontally there for the years of, say, 3rd grade ELA, we really don't look off. We look a little bit higher in most cases. If you follow it as a cohort too, the 3rd graders to 4th grade to 5th grade, or the 4th grade to 5th grade, or the 3rd grade to 4th grade. The 4th grade to 5th grade there was, it was a little bit of a drop there, but by and large, you see growth. So I think that for year 1 of a program, I was very impressed with that. I'm just going to show you.
Yeah, we were expecting.
They went up in 2nd grade.
Yeah, we were expecting.
There was no dip.
No, we were
They
expecting a
were
dip.
23, but that was before.
Yeah.
Before we
Yeah.
implemented.
What I was gonna say is 4th grade ELA in 2022 and then because I don't have the
Right.
2024.
No, 2023, 24, everything went up.
I don't have that, do I? Because they don't have it.
No, we've seen
Yeah,
increases.
so that's good. Year 1. Thank you, Kelly. Because I'm looking at 2 years without it, right? Did anybody have any comments or questions about Wonders that you'd like? Okay. Then we'll move right on.
No.
I keep talking, I'm sorry.
Is there anything different in the supplemental assessments? Is it just a different format? Is it just additional to what they already did?
It's additional. So it's a different, I just looked at it with a 5th grade teacher, so haven't really dug in. But I think the diagnostic can give you more specific feedback. Some things, the tests that we were using, I forgot what they're called, actually. Not the diagnostic placement, I'm trying to remember their name. They match and look very similar to what students will see on a state assessment.
Mhm.
So they'll have the text passages and the questions. And I think these also have other parts like maybe vocabulary, phonics, those pieces too. Okay. I'll have to double check for you.
Okay.
And I know that when we were meeting last week with grade levels, talking about data, that one of the discussions was that these assessment pieces may be able to help us streamline, because at some grade levels, especially in primary, there are so many different things that you have to assess, letter names, letter sounds.
Foundation.
And you're looking at points from all
Comprehension.
different places, that if it's all able to be done in one place to streamline the process and not be repetitive or redundant. for time to, and because I believe that with these assessments, it also aligns to say, okay, this is where they fell down. This is some ways to.
Okay.
Because, yeah, they will provide those suggestions for
So,
support.
so that was another benefit that was being discussed. So these things, we need the time to dig in, to
Yeah.
explore.
So we'll help teachers differentiate,
Exactly.
find curriculum and be able to save time too, right? Because
That was
then
one of the things we
they're
kind of liked
focusing in on
about
the
it.
efforts of the majority of kids and not trying to pull it from everywhere.
Exactly. So it's kind of right there and it's,
That's
they
great
have
as well.
access online as well. And
But it has been, they're just starting to dig into
Yeah.
it. So
it's there's a lot of resources to the program for sure. So it's going to take us time to uncover all of that.
But I feel like we're ahead of schedule on some of that, right?
That's how Sue has
I didn't
responded
think
to
we'd be
us.
at that point already.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's true. New text proposals, as you know, we bring those to the curriculum committee. And, I actually have these for
Do you have a click
everybody.
on anything?
No, you know why? Because I actually have.
We'll never get back.
I know. We'll get back. I'm ready to click. I'm ready to do this.
I know.
Thank you.
Would I give that to you? And I have two. So last year, after a 6-12 curriculum audit in ELA, that really looked through the lens of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusivity. You know, we asked the question in the 6-12 experience, what's missing? And whose voice are we not hearing? Is there something that we might want to revisit, make changes, or think about adding a new text? And we encouraged the ELA teachers to, if they wanted to just do some research over the summer, they could have a curriculum day for it. And then if they found something that they wanted to dig farther, they'd have more time. So we did have a couple people do that. And we have 2 requests that have come in. One from Brian Stumbaugh, our department chair, for his AP Language and Composition class. And one from Shannon Spallin, who teaches English 10 honors. And I put this in the drive as well. I'm not sure if anybody saw that, but it's also there. I know. That's what I'm doing.
The ocean at the end of the lane, I have not read that, and I've, like, lately, everybody's been mentioning that book. It's one of his, 3rd quarter books that Brian's reading. Yeah. Okay.
How long have you been using the previous book, Black Boy? So he's saying that's what I'd like to switch.
Mhm.
You know how long he had been using that one
I
for?
don't
Oh,
recall.
okay.
I don't recall.
I'm gonna assume a while, because this is a pretty set course where he's been
Yeah.
teaching for a while.
That's what it
And he indicates that it's written in 1945.
I do see, yeah, I do see that.
I know Brian wants to, use it this year. We are looking to order both of these for this year.
You have the funds, right?
Yep, we have the funds.
So but if he wants to replace Black Boy, excuse me, that it will need to happen.
It's in the system right now, yeah.
Okay, because
But
second,
I
quarter-
said I'm
second
not-
quarter is.
Yeah, we can, yeah. It's quick turnaround.
I did tell him, it doesn't go until, we talk to the curriculum committee in November, so. we knew that.
This doesn't have to.
Right, I know.
Karen, what's the evaluation component of when the teacher does change a text and they're looking at doing it? How do they evaluate if that was the right decision for their class and curriculum, like afterwards? Do they do like a look back at it and
I
say,
think there's the reflection.
yeah,
of
like
how
that
we-
reflection, like, how did this work? Did it do what I wanted it to do? Is this the, right? is this where I want to be with this course? Like, are they doing that? Like, how's that work?
It's interesting that you say that because I will say, you're looking at two people who are pretty reflective.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Oh,
And I cannot think of a text that has changed here
Yeah.
with either of them recently, but I can remember text change with Jamie Gray and with Rachel Kramer, and we would have those conversations. Where are we with it? We go right back and revisit
well, I
the
just think,
curriculum.
I think it could be a powerful teaching tool for other staff members to show that reflection and saying, here's what I did, here's how I did it. And I wasn't sure, but then here's what I saw was a benefit or not a benefit, right? Like,
Right.
I think that's a powerful
Yeah.
tool within their department to have that conversation, or even within the, like, as an example of practice.
Yeah.
Like, how did
No,
I
that's
make a
really
change
good-
and
that's
what does
really
it look
good.
like? I know, like, for me, I would love to understand that from their perspective. Like, what did they end up seeing? What were they hoping for and what did they see?
Yeah.
Because Brian's looking for connection, right? He's looking for more real life connection into, the kids into the
Exactly.
text.
Engagement, and
Yeah.
connection, and relevance to them,
Yes.
and yet it's still very expansive, right?
Mhm.
It's something very different.
You know how it's the Great Gatsby? I thought that was very cool. Like that one, the one you're gonna say. Great Gatsby. Again.
I think so, these are great choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see how they.
How
looked
are
at
they
it.
doing with it? Yeah.
Cause you can, all the theory in the world and all the thoughts in the world, but when you get it in front of a kid, it completely changes.
Right.
And it's funny too, I recently reread Fahrenheit 451 and I was like, wow, this is really aged. You know what I mean? Like it's,
It hasn't stood up the test of time.
yeah, but I mean, it's still a great.
Oh,
book.
it's
my
relevant.
God,
Yeah, I mean,
amazing,
it's
but,
certainly, but.
Yeah.
And it's canon. It's one of those books that,
Yeah.
but I think it's great to try something a little different.
Agreed.
Any concerns?
I don't have any
Nope.
concerns.
Great.
No. And are these to be adopted this year or next school year?
Yeah, I know Mr. Stumbaugh wants to start it this year. I believe originally Shannon Scullin was looking for the following year, but because they're both being put in this year, I'm thinking she wants to probably use it.
I do that.
today.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I know he does. so.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Here, we've got a lot of talking.
I am. I'm
You're doing a
sorry.
Great job.
We're moving through it. Redesigning learning cohort. That's the name for our group of teachers who have the new furniture that we invested in their classrooms, the
Oh,
flex furniture from VS America. That was made by VS America. What's the group that we get it from? Kimberly.
Accent.
Thank you, Accent. Okay.
It took me a minute.
That's it, exactly. So we had proposals last year and 3 of the proposals were chosen to move forward. We were able to do that. Very exciting. And we also have 2 people who were interested and that are part of the cohort. So they talk with us, they do the PD with us, and have been
They're
a part
the
of it.
first dibs
And they would be
for-
the first dibs if we were able to expand that again. So just wanted to give a little check-in on that because I'm very excited about that work.
So they went and visited Eagle Park.
It's on here, I'm getting there.
Robin, did you see
I'll
him?
move quickly.
No, which is kind of, they're literally they were 2 doors down.
Oh, for
Since
heaven's
the other Spanish teacher.
In July, we did our professional development day. So we met as a team. We started to talk. We created a mission statement. We worked on some early team things. And then we spent a good portion of the day doing online professional development of Catlin Tucker. And it was station rotation and the true sense of the station rotation. And after that, towards the end, I didn't, but the teachers were making new lessons based on your learning each step through that program. And then they finished that up. Of course, we've got some go-getters who are then cranking out a couple more and sending them, sharing them out with our group. So that worked out really well. In August, the end of August, we were able to get almost all of our furniture. We have like 95% of it. So they were able to have it for the kids to start the year. We have a couple more things that are going to be shipped in beginning of December. So I am really glad we were able to get a lot of that on a quick ship. In September, I held a fall meeting with them. We had our technology integration specialist, Shauna Worthley, meet with us and help us with some tech stuff, some ideas if we want to do a flipped classroom or expand onto that. We watched a TED Talk and discussed that TED Talk, some ideas. Really, we're focused on student choice, student voice, collaboration. Also at that time, a couple people were using their new station lessons, so we were able to visit each other's classroom and talk about that at that meeting. In October, Courtney Savigny, she's the education consultant from VS who creates that furniture. She's a New York rep. She came and visited us and met with our teachers, which was really nice. I think she would push into a room and see some of the furniture in action and what was going on. But she also worked, like, say, during study hall, she was able to meet with a teacher and talk about what he or she was doing, plan out next steps, give some input and give some ideas. So everybody was kind of excited about that. I definitely was too. And then in November, we got to visit April Park. And that was really nice. In the morning, our high school teachers went to visit. In the afternoon, our middle school teachers went and got to see a few different classrooms and bring that back. So now we've got some nice connections with both the furniture education consultant and April Park, which has been really nice. And I have that little link there, and you don't have to share that on the video, but if you just want to show the RDL goes to April Park and district debrief. So because we were so close to Thanksgiving, I knew it'd be hard to scramble time to all meet, but I have a article that was shared and we'll respond to that. And then we have our little wows and wonders from April Park so that people could put down their thinking while it was still fresh. And then we'll be meeting again. But it's kind of nice to have, and we did that in July too. We have a Padlet where we read and respond to articles and different things. So it's kind of nice. We're building a little community with that. And I just have a couple pictures there of Miss Bradshaw, 7th grade class with their furniture and the collaboration and then moving that.
Definitely not your 1950s classroom with straight rows, right?
Yeah. So.
And I think one of the things I always want to reiterate, because I do believe we want to continue this budgetarily as we move on. And I'd like to allocate the same amount of funds that we were able to allocate this year. I mean, if possible, more would be great. But, and be able to branch this out further is we're not buying just desks. We're buying instructional tools and resources. And I think it's huge that, the PD that
Shifting your
Karen's doing and
thinking.
it's shifting the mindset. It's professional development on pedagogy, on instructional strategies, on engagement. So yes, you're putting an investment into these resources, which again, it's not cheap. It's $16,000 to $20,000 per room, but we're getting a shift, right? And we have kids that are asking, and we have teachers who are asking for this furniture now, which,
And I'll
it's
tell
nice
you,
to see a shift in that kind
something
of
that was
push.
really nice. I think it was it after the April Park visit or was it after Courtney being here? I think it was the April Park visit. Our science teacher in 7th grade, Jess, who's got the furniture, came back. And one thing that she talked about that she saw, I think, in April Park was not needing as many desks as she had ordered. So a couple of those thumbprint desks are now being shared with another teacher. So she's starting to, one of the other cohort members, she's being able to use some of that, which she's been kind of dying to get a couple pieces at a time. She wasn't ready to jump in.
When you say 16 to 20,000 a room, what is the lifespan? What's the maintenance look like?
There is no maintenance on these,
Okay.
which is beautiful. They're meant to last, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, desks can last 20 years, 25 years. I mean, these things, you can stand on them, you can jump on them.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as what I've seen so
You-
far, they are durable. Again, it's a newer furniture. People have had them, but we
It's
haven't seen breaking
double,
down.
like,
I
yeah,
haven't
so
heard of
instead of-
breaks. I haven't heard of issues from other districts.
Yeah.
Like, they are durable.
Does
Yeah.
the manufacturer or the
There's a
vendor,
warranty.
do they, okay, so there's a warranty. That was gonna be one of my questions, but do they have at least a stated suggested turnaround in
I
terms of
haven't asked on
lifespan?
that, to be very
Okay.
honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, they
Okay.
do
Yeah.
expect it to be way longer than what you'd normally be
Okay.
getting
Yeah.
with desks. and
But I
chairs.
mean, when we buy school furniture, we're expecting it to last 15, 20, 25
Because, when I hear, okay, well, we may be looking for more to equip more classrooms. is this a linear, process where we're fully equipped and we're more or less done? Or do we start going around again because we're gonna have to start?
So it depends on the manufacturer, right?
Okay.
So there's a school district that has done this furniture.
Mhm.
And that same school district has picked other furniture that was supposed to be just as good. They are now getting rid of that furniture because it's broken, right? And it didn't last. So that's why you're looking at the manufacturer and how that works.
Okay.
The goal is going to be is that after you finish your changeover, you've now changed flexible seating, you've been able to do all that. You're able to keep that for as long as humanly possible, because we don't want to keep on respending taxpayer money.
Right.
But we want to pick the right furniture for that, because there are different manufacturers.
That make flexible furniture, but
Yeah,
it's
but
not.
it does not
up to
hold up
quality
as this
of
one has.
this.
So you talk about it as flexible seating, station rotation. These are a lot of things that happen in the elementary school as well.
That's right.
Are we able to bring some of this to the elementary school? Because down there we have teachers, that put their own money into these things or buy cheap items that break.
Yeah.
Right.
Or just the kids are all over the floor.
Yeah, so I think that's a twofold question.
Yep.
First fold is, we're going through budgetary responses right now, so I would encourage grade levels to meet with their.
Well, this was
Admin-
never presented as an
Well-
option for the elementary.
Well,
That's
it's
my
not.
question.
So it's
Well,
not, so,
so
because
there's-
right
there's
now
the
we're
answer.
targeting, but if there's flexible seating or needs in classrooms, I think that is something that the building principals need to be aware of, so then we can at least budget for it. So, are we gonna be able to outfit a whole classroom? Probably not, right? Because our focus is changing that output in the middle school and high school, right? Because there's not been a change in those seatings in
Yeah.
years. It's traditional here. You guys are doing a nice job with your flexible seating, but you need more support on that. So I think that's a budgetary thing. So if there's like need for extra seats, maybe not a full set,
But maybe that's where you start
Right.
replacing.
and maybe
pieces.
we then can start that conversation down there every budget season and continue to do it. Are we gonna be able to say another 60,000 for elementary school? Most likely not, right? Because we're still gonna target that. But with our new seating, we do have new seating and furniture for the rooms that we're redoing.
Mm,
So that is a possibility.
That's exciting.
But I do think it's a good conversation to have.
Well, and Jeff did
Yeah.
speak yesterday at the fact meeting about, hey, bring me your budgetary things now,
Yeah.
not in June.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I think
but as we
furniture is,
think about
yeah.
those things, remembering what goes into that.
But I think furniture is a huge key component of that conversation for next year, and equipment lines and everything else, so bring them up, bring them forward. Any other questions on this? All right. Computer and digital fluency standards. Kim, You're doing a
Yes.
great job.
Computer science and digital.
Keep it up.
Really soon. Want to start with a bit of a recap. You might recall that last spring, May, I think it was, we started work at grade levels, at a grade level meeting. Shawna worked with our teachers down at the elementary to look at the digital fluency standards specifically. And we have a new map, and those are actually done in grade bands, the way the state creates it. So it's K1, 2, 3, 4 through 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 12. And we started at the elementary, and teachers looked at the standards and suggested lessons over to the right there. The New York State gives ideas for lessons, and they may have nothing to do with being on a computer, maybe writing something with details, step-by-step process in a narrative or something. And we had teachers fill in what they're already doing, because the idea was that much of this is probably being done already. And we wanted to say, where are we doing this? Where do we have gaps? We wanted to build that awareness. So that was part one. This fall, they met again and they got a little bit more specific with their information. You'll see it's great because things aren't done just once. You'll see a lot of these standards. Somebody's done in 4th grade, somebody's done in 5th grade. There's a couple different ways that it's being met. And we also, in November 1st PD meeting, our middle school started this work too. So now we have quite a lot already done for elementary. We have some places that if you scroll down under a tab, Frank, if you were say
I'm on 7, 8 now.
you're in 7, 8, okay. You might see a space where it'll say near Nearpod. Like we will have certain places that we have to do specific lessons that just aren't going to be in what we normally do, that either Shauna will do or the teacher in the grade level will be able to do through Nearpod, one of our resources. In 7-8, I found it very interesting to see how many technology, certainly, but music. So how many things are being met through music class. I thought that was kind of neat. So we just started it in the middle school. We'll be going back to that.
What's an example of that? Like digital music production? Or...
Let's see how specific they have. If you're in the 7-8,
Yeah, where
you
you
might
wanna
be
go.
able to find, that's a social studies 8, but see, Frank, if you scroll somewhere, we can find up at the top more. Where did the lesson go? Those are examples, but can you, there we are, in the pink. We're gonna need the pink.
If I type in music, will it?
No, just pull
If
up.
I
I'm
search
sorry.
music.
I didn't mean to jump on you, but
Nope,
can
just
can
scroll
you
the whole
just-
thing.
All right,
Scroll up
yes,
there.
ma'am. Whatever you like.
there we.
Digital
Perfect.
audio workstation.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
Yeah, we have a digital audio, so, but it's the pink column is what you gotta look at.
Yeah, it is.
Columns again.
There we go. So we'll be doing a little bit more work with that. Shauna's been great with it.
Okay.
Again, trying to help teachers get a little bit more specific.
Yeah,
with
because
what
when-
it is up there.
Composing and editing with a digital audio workstation. Conjunct and disjunct motion in Chrome Music Lab.
So we've started.
It's good. Questions? Oh, that's the same one that was just there. And middle school lunch period restructuring. So you may have seen it already that Brianna did and the middle school did restructure the middle school lunches. So that was something she was already working on. So it's kind of funny that this topic was already coming up as well. And Karen's got the bullet points. She did give you a memo. Students in 7th and 8th grade now have the ability for full lunch periods. Which is, I will tell you, I have a 7th grader and they really enjoy it.
Mhm.
And they do like and we do here at home, and I will share this. Well, I can go to academic advisory now. Right? Like it's
Yeah.
What I like about it is there is some, as a parent perspective, there is some student accountability into it that we hear at home, which I haven't heard in the past, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can go here, I can do my work here, this is when I can get it done, or if I need supports, they know where their resources. And for me, and again, I'm just speaking as a parent.
Yeah.
That's a different tone than what I've heard in the past. I don't, you're hearing it too, right?
Well,
Yeah.
of course, he said, my child wishes that, of course, he just more time to eat.
Right.
Part of the problem is he takes forever.
But you can still eat though, like.
He can still, I
That's-
know,
yeah.
if he could just have unlimited time. But like I explained to him, you know what? Now you have that full period of time, so now it's up to
Right.
you to figure out how you're
How
going
you
to spend
spend
your
it.
time then.
And it's helped us at home to have that conversation
Yeah.
saying, you failed to do this.
Yes.
Now you need to understand what you need to do better. So it really has helped from my perspective as a parent, it's allowed parents to have
conversation.
some conversations at home more about student accountability,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I don't know how it works for a teacher, but I know as a
Yes,
parent, I've really.
yeah.
enjoyed it.
So we have a TA who's in the library.
Yeah.
So the student has to finish an assessment, or
Mhm.
maybe an assignment.
I haven't heard negatives.
This scheduled academic responsibility time,
Mhm.
would that be something that a student could be assigned to go to?
They are, if they have to finish an
Okay.
assessment, or if they have to make up something in
So they
particular.
can choose or they
So-
can be told to go?
They could still choose to go to the library if they want to. I did read, the parents' more that was sent out saying, to consider the type of work that you need. So if it's
Yeah.
gotta really be quiet and you really wanna go, then you most certainly can go,
okay.
yes. But sometimes kids can just,
So if the teacher says, I need you to go here. and make this up,"
that's exactly what it's about, yeah.
That's great.
It's a
To catch up
It's a
or,
big shift in a first year to be able to take something big on like that. So
Mhm.
kudos to the
Yeah.
team,
that's right.
honestly.
I just want to add, I think that ultimately it has, worked out. I think it would be good, with big changes like this, if teachers could be brought into the process from the beginning. They kind of were late being brought into the conversation. And so, that, I think in the end it was collaborative, but when these big changes need to happen, I think the beginners would be appreciated.
Is there an ongoing way in which the feedback can continue to be given on stuff like this? Are there labor management?
Well, I mean,
there's the
we
building.
do have those things.
Just, or is it just a matter of just open communication?
There's building level teams.
but- Sure.
So they meet monthly. So and I think
Gotcha.
that's an opportunity too, where if staff feel they didn't have feedback, bringing it up at, I believe there's teacher council and building level leadership
Sure.
teams where
And
staff
then-
could bring that up and say, hey, we felt a little left out on this one. Like, how do we, bring that back up?
And they did, and when they
Good.
brought it up.
Oh, good. They did bring
It
it up.
was receptive,
Oh,
but my
good.
point being
Sooner.
to from the get-go
Right,
instead of
right.
playing catch-up.
Well, I'm
to
sure
find
they,
whatever
well,
summer
so since it was brought up, I'm sure that she probably realized that. But it's nice to know that it was already brought up and addressed. I didn't
Yes.
realize that.
I think that's everything.
All right. That's all we have. Anything else?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I've also noticed that,
I'm gonna,
when the lunchbox comes home, there's no food